The year is 1943. War has been raging on in the Eastern Front for a few years now, with casualties and destruction reaching a scale no one thought was possible. Currently, the Red Army had just held off a large-scale German attack at the Battle of Kursk, the largest tank battle in history. Though the Soviet forces had suffered more losses, it was Germany who was left hurt and vulnerable. You see, Germany had to fight on two fronts as well as assist their allies in the Mediterranean. This left their force thin, painfully thin, and the Soviets would definitely try to capitalize on this. Thus beginning the Soviet summer offensive of 1943, the Red Army quickly gained ground on a struggling German force. A German force who could only offer a slight resistance to a Red Army that was quickly gaining momentum. On September 15, 1943, Hitler ordered all the German forces to fall back to the Dnieper River. He wanted his force to use the river as a wall against the Red Army, a Red Army that looked unstoppable. Thus, beginning the Battle of Dnieper. Hitler's gamble paid off. The relentless Soviet war machine came to a halt. The much larger Red Army only had 23 bridgeheads, while having suffered heavy casualties. Bridgeheads are strategic areas around the end of bridges or other places that can be used to cross over a body of water. Once a bridgehead is secured and expanded, it turns into a lodgment, an area gained from hostile territory. Soviet higher-ups were quite unhappy with the lack of progress and heavy casualty, especially after building up so much momentum. Thus came the order for an airborne assault operation. The operation was a complete and utter disaster. Here's why. The paratroopers used in the assault were either barely trained or had no experience jumping. The paratroopers that survived getting to the ground were spread out and almost didn't have any radios to communicate. More than a quarter of the paratroopers were dropped on a German tank division and didn't live to tell the tale. Some planes flew too low and got shot down, some flew too high and dropped paratroopers into the river or way behind the German forces. The paratroopers on the ground did little to nothing to contribute to the Battle of Dnieper. They later joined back with the main forces in early October when the Red Army achieved lodgment across the river. At that point, the battle was pretty much won. Even though the German forces were killing 2 to 3 Soviets per German, it did nothing to slow them down. By the end of 1943, the Soviets' lodgment was heavily reinforced, and the Red Army had an easy time taking control of the rest of the river. In the end, the Battle of Dnieper set the stage for the Red Army's advance into Eastern Europe. Shortly after the battle ended, Soviet forces quickly pushed into Ukraine and Crimea and took control. The next year, Lithuania, Belarus, Hungary, Romania and Bulgaria fell under Soviet control. Germany suffered between 300,000 to 900,000 casualties from the battle, while the Soviets suffered 1.6 million casualties, with over 400,000 killed or missing. More Soviet troops died at the Battle of Dnieper than the US suffered during the entire war. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. See you next time.